Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be kind of off of my monthly music finds video. Um, I did something I don't do that often, which was actually go into a record store and do some digging. Um, I had some spare time yesterday after work. I had the intention of taking records to the store that I regularly go to, but he closed early. I'd gotten down there. I had my tote bag full of records, probably about 30 records or so that I was going to sell or trade. And I get there and his sign was showing closed, almost an hour early without any kind of notification. So you run into that a lot with record stores, and it's a frustrating thing. And I get that a lot of them, the small business mindset of, if we don't have business going, then let's close. But you know, my thing is a lot of people work until 5 o'clock. If your sign says you're open till 6, you're gonna have people come in at the end of the day after they get out of work. That's what I did. Went through rush hour traffic, blah blah blah, and you know, see that he's closed. So last minute, there's a store that I have not been to since moving here back in July, and I'd heard about it, but had never ventured inside. So I make the side trip. It's about 7 minutes or so from where I was. Made my way over there and walked inside this store and found some great stuff. This guy might have better selection than my previous shop. I'm not going to give up on the other shop. They've given me some great things, but this guy had a lot of stuff that's in my wheelhouse. And I grabbed a few records. There were other things that I left behind. So obviously I haven't listened to all these yet because I'm filming this now. It's about 2 o'clock. I'm on my lunch break. And, I got these records yesterday around 6 p.m. So haven't listened to them all. I've listened to a couple. I know a couple of others, but some of the other ones were kind of blind or were filling things because I needed those spots in my collection to be filled. And you'll see what that means here in a second. So let me just jump right in. First, I have Shut Down Volume 2, and you'll see the prices, and people are always like, oh, don't show the price, but whatever. Beach Boys Shut Down Volume 2. This is an original Capitol, Rainbow Capitol label from 1964, and it sounds great. I did listen to this one about an hour ago, and it sounds great. This is the first record that has Al Jardine as a full-time member. There he is up front, looking much older than he does now. But a cool photo of the guys, very young. Great hits on here. I mean, this is one of those, kind of concept albums they did during this time of, car songs. Like they did Little Deuce Coupe. They did 409, Shut Down, all that stuff. But the big hit on here is Fun, Fun, Fun. But it's also got the beautiful, The Warmth of the Sun. Another big hit, Don't Worry Baby, is on here. They do a cover of Louie Louie by the Kingsmen. And then they also do a version of Why Do Fools Fall in Love by Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. And that is a beautiful version. Brian's voice is so good. But I'm very happy to have this for my Beach Boys collection. I did not own this on any format. And this is the first album that was put out after Murray Wilson, the Wilson brothers' father, was fired. So this is produced by Brian. So that was a little glimmer of what was to come about 2 years later with Pet Sounds. This is the other one that I've listened to. The rest of them I have not. I just turned this one off before I clocked out for lunch. This is Dillard, Hartford, and Dillard. Obviously, you have Rodney Dillard here, John Hartford, and Doug Dillard. The Dillards being part of the Dillards bluegrass group. John Hartford, most famous for writing the song "Gentle on My Mind" by Glenn Campbell, but he was kind of had a cult following in like the folk and bluegrass world. Did a lot of comical kind of songs, but also did a lot of really pretty songs. I would almost lean this more as being a John Hartford album than a Dillard's album, but it's fantastic. This is a late 70s reissue, different cover, which I didn't realize. But yeah, it's cool, and I'm a big fan of the Dillards, so had to get that. Next, I've got some stuff that, well, let me go into this before I talk about everything else. because everything else is pretty much related. I've got 2 more Beach Boys records. The first one, this is on the Reprise Brothers label. This is the MIU album. Got it for $6. Again, trying to collect the Beach Boys, discography from what I can. This is one that is going to be focused on a new box set that is supposed to be announced at some point. I wait every week for this thing to be announced, and it hasn't been announced yet. So we'll see if it actually comes out this year. But it's supposed to focus on this, the album 15 Big Ones, and then Beach Boys Love You. But yeah, you got the original guys there, all kind of doing the Brian's Back campaign. Brian not in the best of health during this time. But yeah, nothing really on here that I know. They do a version of Peggy Sue and Hey Little Tomboy. Come Go With Me was kind of a moderate hit by Al, but I don't know much of the other tunes on here. But happy to have that. I do like his version of Come Go With Me. So the MIU album by the Beach Boys, happy to have that. And this is a one that I don't see out in the wild much. This is a 1980 reissue of the Beach Boys' Wild Honey. This was kind of one of those first lo-fi albums that the Beach Boys did after Pet Sounds kind of flopped. The Beach Boys started producing records themselves, recording at home. And this has definitely like a rawer feel than that early Beach Boys stuff. Very short record. It's got some good songs on here. Wild Honey by Carl is great. Aren't You Glad? I Was Made to Love Her. Then you also have Darlin', which is a great Carl Wilson tune. I Love Just Wants to See You. Here Comes the Night. Let the Wind Blow, which is a throwaway from Smile. So yeah, really happy to have this. And it's in great shape. Again, 1980 reissue. It cost me a little bit extra, but don't see it much. I think it was actually underpriced for what it goes for. So happy to have that in the collection. Now, everything else is going to be related to the Byrds and or Byrd solo members. And I'll start with just the straight ahead Byrds album. Again, just trying to fill out the collection. This is the Notorious Byrd Brothers. This was a controversial album cover. You can see that you've got Chris Hillman there without a shirt on, Roger McGuinn looking kind of John Lennon-like, and then Michael Clark. And then you have a horse I believe it's a horse. The story is that that's supposed to represent David Crosby, who was fired from the group during the recording of this album, and it's supposed to represent Cros. Nobody's ever fully said that that's true or not. Michael Clark would also leave right after this album, leaving just McGuinn and Hillman, who would record Sweetheart of the Rodeo. So really cool album, kind of one of those albums that flows together. It's got some great stuff, and Crosby is on this. He is a full-on member on this album, so he's not missed because he is on here. But a lot of times we forget that Crosby was still a member of the Byrds. But going back, which is a Carole King tune. Draft Morning, Wasn't Born to Follow is a beautiful tune by Carole King. Old John Robertson, Tribal Gathering, again another kind of Crosby tune. But yeah, kind of psyche, like psych, almost country. But it's it's probably their trippiest album, even more so than Fifth Dimension, in my opinion. Other things that we have here, keep talking about Chris Hillman, Flying Burrito Brothers. This is the self-titled album. It's their third or fourth album. I can't remember. But you've got all the players on here. You got Chris Hillman. You've got Michael Clark on the drums, again, also from the Byrds. Bernie Ledden from the Eagles. Pete Kleino, Sneaky Pete Kleino, who was an original member of the Burrito Brothers. So you have two original Burrito Brothers, and then you have Mike Clark, again, from the Byrds, the drummer. Bernie Ledden, who would go on to join the Eagles. But really good stuff on here. They do a version of White Line Fever by Merle Haggard. They do Gene Clark's Tried So Hard. Bob Dylan's To Ramona. And then Rick Roberts, the rhythm guitar player, has a lot of songs co-written with Chris Hillman. So happy to have that. The guy at the record store said he doesn't often see this for under $20. So really cool on A&M Records. Again, another Burrito Brothers record. Completely different lineup for the most part. This is Airborne. Again, I've not heard this from 1976. You still have Sneaky Pete on pedal steel, but you also have some Byrds alum Skip Batten on guitar and bass, and then Gene Parsons, who's one of my favorite members of the Byrds. They were both in the latter iteration of the Byrds. But really, really good stuff. Again, I don't know the songs on here, but I do love the Burrito Brothers. Um, yeah, excited to listen to that as well. And then finally, a couple of Chris Hillman related things. This is Chris Hillman, Clear Sailing, one of his solo albums. I'd never heard of it, from 1977. Kind of a strange album cover there. He's kind of got like the, you know, I don't even know, windbreaker, like a kite. Very, I don't. It's an interesting cover. Again, nothing on here that I really know. But I'm collecting everything by Chris Hillman, and they're usually fairly cheap. And then lastly, this is the debut by the Desert Rose Band, who I do enjoy. This is Herb Peterson, Chris Hillman, and then John Jorgensen. I went blank. John Jorgensen here in the middle. They would be the core of the Desert Rose Band until the 90s country rock kind of band. They had a few good hits. One of them is on here, One Step Forward. It was a minor hit. Ashes of Love was another one. Great tune. Love Reunited. He does a version of Time Between, the Byrds tune. So very, very excited to have this. You've also got Bill Bryson on here and Steve Duncan. Big names in the country rock world. So there you go. That's a bunch of stuff that you probably don't care about, that you would normally pass over in dollar bins. But I'm happy to have this. This is stuff that I haven't always seen. So very happy to have that. I need to hold off on record buying. I am making a trip in November to see a fellow VC member, so stay tuned for that. His name rhymes with cheer and the signal, title. Going up there in November, doing a lot of record hunting up there. And then in addition, we have Black Friday coming up, and whenever this Beach Boys box set's supposed to be announced. But anyway, that does it for me. That's a lot of talking. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you like those records. I'm very happy with that haul, and I've definitely found a new store in town that I will definitely be frequenting more often. So let me know what you think. In the meantime, y'all be good, take care, and we will see you on the next one. Bye now.